Welcome to Attention Retention, the podcast where we explore the world of recruitment and retention in the trucking and logistics industry. I'm your host, Jackie McManus, CEO of KJ Media, a recruitment advertising agency specializing in this space. Today, we'll be discussing recruitment automation, making your team more productive and your hiring process more efficient with specific tactical steps. Make sure to like and subscribe on whatever channel you're listening to so you can stay up to date on all future content.
Welcome to Attention Retention with Jackie McManus, your source for the latest trends in transportation recruitment and retention.
In this podcast, we will discuss the most common challenges recruiters face and solutions tied to automation that your team can implement immediately. We explore the benefits of automation systems such as an ATS or CRM system, which allows recruiters to automatically text, email, or voicemail phone drop as soon as the candidate shows interest in your company. This way, recruiters can focus on having higher quality conversations with high intent and qualified candidates. First, let's review some of the most common challenges of recruiters and solutions tied to automation with tactical examples that your team can implement immediately. Number one, recruiters have an enormous responsibility. Let's take a minute to think about this. Recruiters are charged with linking qualified job applicants with companies looking to fill a need. From purely a business perspective, companies must have quality employees in place to carry out the day-to-day tasks that keep things going. When workflow gets interrupted from lack of labor power, things can break down very quickly. This is just one component of the recruiter's duty. And the fact is that many recruiters are overburdened. Burnout is a genuine issue in the trucking industry and in most industries. Between an ongoing driver shortage and high turnover rates, recruiters face more challenges than ever before, and there's only so much man and women power within your recruitment team. The solution? An automation system to help you scale your recruitment efforts. An ATS system gathers leads into your efficiency funnel, allowing your recruiters to automatically text, email, and voicemail drop as soon as driver shows interest in your company. Following up campaigns leads nurture and warm leads to then convert into hires. I like to think of it as a recruiter assistant. It truly is like having an assistant for each one of your recruiters. In turn, this does help open up their schedule and shift their attention and time towards only talking to the most qualified candidates. Let's say a driver submits a short form at 2 a.m. on Friday night. Will a recruiter be available to call the driver immediately? I would probably and hopefully say no. However, the time that the driver applies and within the next 5 minutes is when you want to get your information on your company with a strong call to action in the messaging immediately. This way, when the recruiter comes into the office that Saturday or Monday, the driver lead already has a few touch points with information on the next steps. And this will then make the recruiter's phone call to the driver a lot more targeted and a lot more specific. Let's say, for example, if the call to action is to fill out the long form application, typically we're seeing about a 35% click-through rate and full application rate. So out of 100 drivers, 35 of them are actually filling out the long form application. When the recruiters goes into the office on Monday, they may already have 35 candidates to fulfill out the entire application, and then they can work their process from there. One sample follow-up campaign that we typically strategize and bring to clients that don't have automation set up is having about 5 to 7 touch points within a 5-day window. All emails and texts should have a strong call to action, whether it's linking again to your full application or recruiters' calendars and setting up a meeting with a recruiter. So for example, there's a lot of tools out there such as Calendly or through HubSpot where recruiters can actually set up their own calendar as a follow-up call to action. What I do love about setting up a meeting for recruiters is that the driver will receive an email, an SMS message immediately after scheduling time with a recruiter, but leading up to that phone call, reminding them that they have this meeting set up with ABC recruiter at ABC Trucking Company. Once the driver fills out either the long form or the call to action to set up a call with the recruiter, the driver's then removed from the campaign. And so typically within the first 24 hours of sending an email and SMS, we're seeing an average open rate between 75 to 98%. So what that tells us is that when a driver applies, regardless of the time that they are applying, they want to hear back from that company immediately. So most companies right now with their call to action are setting a series of triggers. So you can have the call to action to the long form, filling out more information, or also even a driver testimonial with a click to a calendar invite to set up a meeting with the recruiters. It alleviates and it takes away so much time that is involved with being a truck driver recruiter and getting folks to fill out the long form or reduce overall phone tag. So throughout the sequence, you may get responses, and we all know this in recruiting space, where a driver or candidate fills out their information and then all of a sudden they're not interested, which is fine. However, with automation, they may be interested in connecting with your company at a future time. And it's a great opportunity to not only have the short 5 to 7 day touch point, but to create a automation system where you're able to keep in constant contact with drivers that have expressed interest within your company. Let's say every month you have a newsletter of sorts, and within that newsletter, you're then giving them driver testimonials, some videos, some highlights of your company's organization, whether it's a company barbecue or a rodeo, and really showing them the culture that you're building within your company. And that we've seen with even drivers that have applied through the short form and maybe not interested to make that transition immediately. We're finding that drivers over the long time, they want that nurturing campaign to learn more about the company. Right now, during a slower time period in our overall economy, in the freight market as a whole, right now we're seeing that for every 10 drivers, there's one job available, where 2 years ago, it was a 2-to-1 ratio. So right now, no pun intended, drivers are really in the driver's seat. So taking that extra step and nurturing each driver that applies to your company, whether they're interested in making a move now or later on, is really critical and something that we work with our clients on to make sure that they're able to utilize all the leads that they've paid for, and really see that ROI as you transition from the automation sequence to a long form type sequence, so you can really see the results and get more interest across the board from candidates on a passive level and then on an active level. And as we nurture candidates, some tips to keep in mind: we want to use this as an opportunity to learn more about your company, career objectives and goals, share selling points about the company to build awareness, appreciation, and interest. In other words, what's your company doing? What have they achieved? Again, driver testimonials, share your new equipment or recent barbecues, any relevant information that would provide value to those candidates that you're looking to transition from candidates into hires. And by building out a 5 to 7 day window period of contact rate, you're really able to get in front of the drivers really quickly and give your company a competitive edge. From there, we're seeing cadences set up to monthly newsletters every 3 months, every 6 months. With automation these days, there are so many tools and tricks, and it can be a little overwhelming of what to do and how to do it. Our recommendation is always start simple. KISS is our number one philosophy. And with keeping it simple, you can then build off of that. But having a active drip and automation campaign is something that is critical when we partner with our clients. Even companies that have had drip campaigns set up through some of the larger ATS systems, when was the last time your company looked at that? We've seen time and time again where prospective clients, they'll come to us and say, oh, we already have automation set up. Well, when they sign on with our company, we then look through their whole automation cycle. And it's amazing how many times clients haven't looked at that cycle in years. And so we really recommend looking at the full life cycle of how you're communicating with drivers, warehouse workers, diesel techs on a every 6-month basis, so that you're able to just reevaluate what's working, what's not working, and where is our opportunity to improve. One of the other biggest challenges that recruiters go through, and I know I went through this quite a bit when I was a recruiter, is dealing with unqualified leads. We know that song and dance. As a recruiter, your top priority is finding the best candidates out there, but it's not an easy task. And with how easy it's become to apply over the years, recruiters are getting more and more applications that they have to go through, and the quantity doesn't always mean quality. In the past, you may have received 20 to 30 applications for a job, but today you can easily get hundreds of resumes just for one job. If you're going on a major job board, let's call it Indeed, it could be a little taxing to have your recruiters go through each and every candidate. So really, through automation, there are methods to set up with even the major job boards out there where you have an automation sequence to filter in the most high intent, highly qualified candidate and keep them engaged with your company until a recruiter is able to actually call them on the phone. So also with automation, you're able to nurture prospects and candidates. So let's say, for example, your company requires at least 1 year of CDLA experience, and a driver applies and maybe they only have 10 months of experience. You will want to nurture that lead and keep your company top of mind so that when they gain their experience and they hit their 1 year mark, you're the first company they think of. And those are some solutions that automation helps keep your company top of mind of all candidates. We have some automation sequences that we're going to share in our show notes that you can easily download. And really what we want to show you is what you can do in order to have your recruiters focus on, again, those high intent, highly ready to make a career change. And a lot of what we've built out for customers is a matter of a short form answering pre-qualifying questions. From there, depending how the recruitment is set up, whether it's round robin or if recruiters are specific to certain locations, you can essentially match that lead with that recruiter to make sure that the recruiter is going to get their driver lead out of, Jasper, as a city off the top of my head. That location will then go into the recruiter's workflow list so that the recruiter then has, instead of 100 leads to go through, they then have maybe 20 of highly qualified leads that filled out the short form that are relevant to the targeted area, and they can really spend the time nurturing the driver leads on the phone and building that communication. One of the things I always see is, recruiters really kind of dialing for dollars, dialing for donuts, however you want to call it, but being pretty quick on the phone with drivers, where now, especially during this time where it's really a driver's market, it's the opportunity for recruiters to speak to candidates and learn more about them and take that extra 15 to 20 minutes to understand exactly what they're looking for and seeing if they're a good fit. By taking that extra time through automation, recruiters can focus on 20 new candidates a day, knowing that they are high intent and highly qualified to make that transition potentially to your company. That's time well spent. That's money well spent in setting up automation. And it really eliminates a lot of the back and forth between the candidates and the recruiters. As always, we love hearing from our listeners. So please feel free to reach out to me directly to learn more about accelerating your automation process. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.